Today's guest is Elijah Borders, a quote emo kid with a country accent based out of Alabama and Tennessee. Elijah's been making an impact with his hard-hitting sound. Welcome, Elijah.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Going good. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. Just got done cooking dinner.
Oh, nice. Perfect time of day.
I know, bro. Yeah.
So let's take it back to the beginning. Where were you born and raised, and how did music first come into your life?
Cool. I was born and raised in Jacksonville, Alabama. So it's like a little small town in Northeast Alabama. And all my family's into music, like my extended family's in bluegrass bands. So like it doesn't really fit my style of what I do now, but that kind of like got me into music, seeing all my extended family always play at family reunions and just breaking out guitars and fiddles and all kinds of stuff and just singing and doing it for fun, basically.
Nice.
And my mom was a singer as well. So like just hearing her sing around the house and randomly sparked my interest for learning guitar. So when I was 12, I started taking guitar lessons. And that was before I hit high school. It was right out of elementary school. So like as soon as I hit high school, I was really into sports and baseball and football and the regular high school life. Music kind of was like stuck on the back burner. I didn't even think about it until after I graduated high school. And I was like, well, I'm not playing college sports, so
Yeah.
why not pick up this guitar that's been sitting in the corner of my room forever? But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. So what kind of music was around you like when you were a kid? Was it just bluegrass for you, just country, or there
I mean, not really.
Well,
My extended family was all in the bluegrass and the country stuff. Like my grandparents are country music fans, like old country, like Conway Twitty and all those guys, Waylon Jennings. My grandma was a big Elvis fan, so it's kind of, I guess everybody was more of a Hank Williams Jr. fan, an Elvis fan back then. But my dad, really the way I got into rock instead of more country, more into rock scene was my dad. Whenever he would pick us up from school or we'd go to baseball practice or whatever, he always had like old Three Doors Down CDs and old like Nickelback CDs, and that's what we'd listen to, and like Lifehouse and all those old bands. He had Enema of the State, that Blink-182 album. We listen to that every now and then. So like we wouldn't listen to country with dad. We were listening to like 2000s like dad rock. So I was like Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles' greatest hits and all that kind of stuff. So that really got me more in the rock side of stuff. And that's just, I guess that's just what I grew up and was embedded in my head of what kind of music I wanted to make. I didn't even know it until I kind of started doing it. So
yeah. When you first picked up the guitar, did you gravitate more towards rock or country at first?
I mean, whenever I first started playing guitar, it was more like the lessons I was taking were like trying to get me to like read sheet music, and I didn't care about reading sheet music. And that's honestly one of the reasons why I put it down, because I was like, this is stupid. I don't want to
Yeah.
learn how to read sheet music and play like in an orchestra or something. Like I want to be like Slash, I want to like stand up there and like rip guitar solos on stage. And so like at first I was like, I don't know if music's for me or guitar's for me. And then I started taking lessons with another guy. He's in Birmingham, Alabama. And he was like, the first question he ever asked me, he was like, what do you want to learn how to play? And I was like, oh, okay. You're not gonna tell me what I want to know. You want me to tell you what I want to know. So like then we just started playing a bunch of rock songs. I started learning like my favorite songs. That made it more fun. So I guess really when I first picked up guitar was learning like to read sheet music or whatever. But then after that, it was just straight rock and roll the whole time. So
Gotcha. That's awesome. Then you kind of put it down for high school. When did you pick up the guitar again and start like really diving?
I was like 19, probably 19. And I'm trying to think. I was still thinking I wanted to play baseball in college. I had like JUCO offers to play baseball. And then I ended up getting like a full academic ride to go to my local college, Jacksonville State University. So like my mom and dad were like, you should take the academics instead of like going to play for a 2-year junior college baseball. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So I ended up going there. And then like probably a year into it, I was like, man, I really remember playing guitar and how fun that was. And I started like looking at other artists and seeing them. And I was writing songs by that point. So like not really writing songs, but kind of like writing poems to a guitar chord or whatever I thought writing songs were. So I guess the more I thought about it and the more I did it, the more interested I became in it, I guess you could say. So, and then I first started gigging when I was like, I think it was right before I turned 20. So 2018. Yeah, 2018. So not too far long ago, but
Yeah. Was there like a community of musicians at your college you went to, or is it mostly just
not
you? Or
really.
how was it?
I mean, there was another guy in town. His name's Aaron Hudgens, and he was like the only other country artist, I guess you could say, or the
Yeah.
only other guy that was playing music in Jacksonville. So like, he got me my first gig. I played at Pelham's, a place called Pelham's in Jacksonville. It's closed down now because they were letting in underage kids, like all of the time. They had bouncers that were like 16 years old just because they had a beard, and they're like, if you can bounce, you look big enough. Um, but yeah, I played there. My first gig was like March, I want to say 19th, March 19th from 5 to 8 in the afternoon. There was one guy there. His name's Reed Hobbs. If he listens to this, he'll appreciate the shout out. It's my guy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, Reed Hobbs. He showed up for like 45 minutes. I don't blame him. He left because there was literally no one there, bro. Like no one. I played for the bartenders and I ended up getting $50 and like free beer the whole time. So I was like, dude, this is awesome. I should start doing this shit more often, you know?
Yeah. Sounds like living the dream right there.
No, no. And then after that, I started like picking up, like playing like local restaurants. I played a Mexican restaurant in town. And my bad.
No worries.
Yeah, just like playing local restaurants in town, trying to make extra money. And then I realized like I can make like 150, $200 a night playing these shows. And I was like, damn, this is easy money. I just got to stand up here and play some songs for everybody. And I make a couple $100 every time. I should do this more often. So,
yeah. So for those shows, you're saying it was like a 3-hour set, even for the first show.
Oh yeah, dude.
Were those covers? Were those originals? Did you have the song bank in your memory?
I had originals, but like I wasn't playing them yet because I was just playing. I didn't have confidence when I first started at all. I had zero confidence. I wanted to do it, but I was scared to sing in front of people, I guess you could say, which is weird for somebody who volunteers to do it, is also scared of doing it, you know? But for some reason, I just didn't have any confidence in myself. I mean, I'm not the best singer now, but I feel like I've really progressed, and at least in my head, I guess you could say, more apt to let it out. Because whenever you're singing, the number one thing is confidence. You can be a terrible singer, but if you've got confidence, people will listen to you. They don't really care.
Absolutely.
So I was just playing covers at first. So I'd play like 3 hours straight of covers, and most of it was just requests. I was like, yeah, what do y'all want to hear? I got a phone, and I'll scroll through lyrics and like pick out stuff that y'all want to hear, and people were loving it. So crazy. I did that for probably a few months before I even played my first original song.
Wow.
And then as soon as I played my first original song, I was like, yeah, I like this better. I think I'm going to play more originals than covers.
Yeah. So you started writing songs when I think you said you were 19. When did you first actually like making those fully fleshed out songs and then eventually recording them? Like when did the recordings come into the process?
I put out my first song in 2019. So that was, I think, May of 2019, I put out my first song. I really hadn't written too many songs at that point. I'd probably written, I don't know, less than 15 at that point. Because I didn't really know what I was doing. And then one time I came home, there's this girl I was talking to, and I ended up seeing her out. And she had cheated on me in the past, and it like brought up like bad memories. So that's where I wrote my debut single from, was that. And I come home from the bar. I wasn't drunk, okay, but I was a little tipsy. I had a few drinks in, and I was, you know what? I'm gonna write a song about her, just randomly. So I wrote down like a verse, a chorus, and like half of the second verse. And I woke up the next morning. I was like, damn, this is awful. This is absolutely bad. So I fixed it whenever I was sober, and then I went and recorded that one. So I guess the first time I ever actually wrote something to record was that. And that was called Could Be For You, out on Spotify, iTunes. Y'all go check it out if you're listening to it. But that was the first one I actually wrote and recorded. And I had two more that there's a buddy of mine that I know, and he was a songwriter for Sony back in the day, and he had wrote like a bunch of songs, and he sent me a bunch of songs, and he was like, yo, if you ever want to record something like I used to write back in the day, I don't have a pub deal anymore, but like you're free to record these. I don't really care. And I was gonna do those, but I was like, you know what? I should probably record something that I wrote that's like personal to me or whatever. So end up doing that instead. And ever since then, it's just been writing to record, I guess.
That's awesome. What were you recording on in like for the first songs you recorded? Was it by yourself? Like were you producing yourself? Were you going to some
No,
producer?
there's a buddy of mine. He lives in Nashville up here now with me. Like we're neighbors, like a mile down the road. His name's Noah Hicks, and he's like the first kid that I met in music. I was like, I think I was 19. I was 19. He was 18. We just had some mutual friends or whatever. But he had a guy that he would go to up here in Nashville. His name's Brad Wagner, and I was like, yo, I'm looking to record something. Like, how do I do that? And he was like, well, just go to my guy. He'll record it for you. So like, I drove to Nashville probably, I don't know, 3 times in the month of March, like every weekend, and would just like do pieces of it and just give him like a couple $100 each time. And eventually we got it all together and put it out. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but
That's
I didn't
awesome.
do it myself. Yeah.
Yeah, so you recorded those songs and then you started playing those original songs live. How did the dynamic of your live show change when you moved from more of covers towards originals, like incorporating originals into it? How'd that change?
I mean, it definitely made me feel better about myself. I mean, I didn't start playing with a full band until end of 2019, start of 2020. So like, I know everybody probably says this, but at the start of 2020, I was like, 2020 is my year. I'm finna blow up. I got all this cool shit I'm about to do. I finally got a band together, and then boom,
Yep.
sickness comes out of nowhere, shuts us all down. So that was really the first time I was playing my original stuff with a full band. It's a whole lot different playing it, and sure you know that it's a whole lot different playing with a full band than it is acoustic by yourself. Because you actually get to have the energy behind it.
How did you find your band? Like, how'd you get those bandmates together?
Honestly, it was just my guitar player was I went to college with him. My drummer was a guy that I met on Facebook, and my bass player was my photographer at the time. So I was like, I had a guitar player, and we were like gigging together, like not playing full band. And he was like, dude, we should get a full band together and like play some like big shows. And I was like, yeah, we should. So my photographer at the time, I just went and randomly got some headshots. Because that was right about the time I was putting out my debut single. And I was talking about a band or whatever. He was like, you know, dude, I play bass. He was like, I'm a musician. I play at church all the time. And I'm like, no kidding. I need a bass player. He's like, dude, sign me up. I'll play. And
Awesome.
I was like, we need a drummer. He was like, I know a drummer. And it was just like he knows him and he knows him and all this kind of stuff. We finally got on together, and that's how I found my first band.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, but after that, it was more like I'm in the industry. There's other guys in the industry, and then we just all kind of like linked together. But at first, it was just literally word of mouth and finding random people, and it ended up working out. So
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
So growing up and being, you know, in Alabama and stuff like that, did you have much experience with Nashville before you got more involved in like the recording and everything? Like, have you visited there?
No, I visited one time. Right when I was starting to get into music, I was like, Mom, I told my mom and dad, I was like, we should take a vacation in Nashville and just like hang out and go downtown. And that was cool, but I wasn't old enough to get in the bar, so like we had to just go to like random like little restaurants or whatever that let us in during the day. But I was a never Nashville hater. That's what I was whenever I like first. Because Noah, my buddy Noah Hicks, he moved to Nashville, and I'd heard people from the industry that I'd gotten to know beforehand that has moved out of Nashville. They're like, dude, that's not the place you need to go. Like you get caught up in the old Music City washing machine or whatever. And I was like, I had a bad taste in my mouth, but I had no idea. That was years ago. That was like 10 years ago when those guys were talking about their experience. Now it's a much different scene up here. So like I was making like monthly trips up here and sleeping on Noah's couch just for like a week at a time. And I'm like, dude, I want to come up here, see what's going on. I got some buddies, and he introduced me to like all his friends that he met up here. And I started writing songs, like co-writes with a bunch of guys. And I was coming up for a week at a time, booking a week's worth of writes, and then driving home and doing it all again the next month. So I'd write like 7 songs each time I come up. And I was like, damn, this is cool. Like, I should move up here.
Yeah.
So pandemic hit, right? And I was like, I haven't thought about moving to Nashville before the pandemic. No, I didn't even think about it. I was going to graduate college and then like figure out what I was going to do after that. So pandemic hit, I dropped out. I was like, you know what? I just want to do music full time and just see what happens. I'm young. I might as well try it now. So as soon as that happened, of course, pandemic comes through. We're all wiped out, basically nothing. Then I started getting unemployment for doing nothing. You know, the $600 unemployment or whatever, I applied for it and I got it because I had like an LLC for my business for my music. So I was getting like $714 a month, just chilling, like right in the middle of the pandemic. Just how everybody else got the 600, and I was like, you know what, I got all this extra money, I should move to Nashville. Randomly just moves to one of the biggest cities in music in the middle of a global pandemic. Best decision. Mom and dad were like, you're so stupid. Why in the world are you doing this? And I was like, look, Mom, I got all this extra money in my savings. I'm just going to go blow it really quick. So that's what happened. I'm still here.
Awesome, man. How has your relationship with Nashville evolved since then, since moving in?
Oh, I finally like learned a little bit about it because I moved up here. I didn't move up here blind because like I had buddies and I'd been coming up for like a year prior. But it's a whole lot different visiting for a week and then living and then like trying to find ways of like actually going through life and not just seeing the cool stuff of Nashville and actually like paying bills and, you know, finding a place to rent and groceries and all this kind of stuff, like getting a new life. So it was more like the assimilation to the city itself and not necessarily the music scene. Thankfully, I'm in like a smaller part of town. I'm in Hermitage. So it's like 20 minutes east of Nashville. So I don't have to like fight the downtown traffic every time I go somewhere. But I guess the coolest part about being up here is you're around people with the same kind of mindset as you are. It's like everybody, at least everybody that I try to hang out with, has the same like, I want to be successful mindset. And that you can't say that about everywhere you are and whatever job you're at or some other random city. So the best part about being up here is everybody's kind of got the same mindset, I guess.
Yeah. And something I've heard about Nashville is that it's not only like the same mindset, but it's a supportive mindset. You know, it could be competitive, it could be one way, but it seems like the people I've talked to have said Nashville tries to bring each other up together. Is that your experience?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, there's going to be like a few people that are just so full of themselves and they're just, you know, they're just dickheads. It's just how it is. Yeah. I don't know if I can cuss on this podcast, but it's happening.
Go for it.
Okay, whatever. People are just not good people and they're selfish and they want stuff for themselves and they don't want anybody else to succeed. And that happens everywhere. But, you know, I guess that's the difference between Nashville and LA or Nashville and New York. Like, I've got a lot of friends that have connections in LA and connections in New York. And they're like, dude, Nashville is a totally different scene. People actually want other people to succeed. It's not like a competition, you know, like my fans are going to be somebody else's fans. So like, I don't have to compete for the same fans. They can be fans of both of us. But it seems like Nashville's kind of like the only place for that. I don't know. I guess not many people are superficial, which is cool because I'm not. What you see is what you get. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you hear about places like LA where it's so business driven and stuff like that. But what I've heard about Nashville, it's very community driven. You know, it's person to person.
It is. This place is definitely about the music more than anything, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So I feel like I'm in the right place.
Sounds perfect. So what were the, how does it, I mean, I'm sure it's a huge difference, but how does it compare to Alabama and like the music scenes in Alabama and like the opportunities you have in Nashville compared to out there?
It's night and day. I mean, there's opportunities to play. I mean, like small gigs in Alabama, but like the connections that I've made up here in less than a year, it would take me 10 years to do it if I was still living in Alabama. So like I've gotten to play some of the biggest shows I've ever played just from meeting people up here and then getting those shows. I've wrote probably 150 songs since I've been up here.
Wow.
And just networking with different musicians, playing writers rounds, just playing anywhere I possibly can. I actually playing on Broadway is not the coolest thing, but to me it was, because I got to play like on Broadway. I guess that's every Nashville person's dream, is just to go play one song on the historic Broadway or whatever. It was terrible because it's 4 hours, you get no breaks, but I still got to play on Broadway, which is pretty cool.
You got to have the experience, I guess. So you mentioned you wrote like 150 songs. Are you more of a collaborative writer? Like, do you write with other people, or do you write by yourself most of the time?
I mean, Nashville it's the city of co-writes basically. So like everybody's always writing with somebody, but I feel like it's probably like 75-25 for me, like co-writes to solo writes. I still solo write pretty much every night. Like I try to sit down and think of something, have an idea in my head, and just write something, because writing is the same thing as any other skill that you could think of. It's like practice makes perfect kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not, whenever I heard about co-writing and like people like practicing how to write songs, I was like, that's kind of not really genuine, really. Like, how can someone write about an experience if they're writing it with someone else, or if they're trying to come up with a new idea every day? But that's just kind of how it is. It's how the music industry is. I mean, you can still write stuff that's personal to you and still write your own experiences, but also kind of write for other people as well. Write for the listener is what you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. And from what I've come to hear about and understand, it matters who you write with as well. Like, if you really connect with somebody and you can be genuine with that person, it's going to come out in the song.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a guy up here. His name's Quint Collins, and I write with him all the time. Like, me and him vibe so well. He's like a hip hop and R&B kind of guy. So he's got like cool melodies and cool ways to say words and inflections and stuff like that. And then I come in with like headbang and rock and roll, and it's like a match made in perfect, match made in heaven kind of thing. So it's cool. But yeah, definitely having somebody that you can vibe with and you're comfortable around, because songwriting is it's not a superficial thing. I mean, a lot of people make it that way, but the best songs to me, are the more personal ones.
Yeah.
It's not like the blanket statement kind of songs that some people try to make up and appeal to the masses. I feel like a more specific song appeals to more people than somebody that tries to write for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems to me like the blanket songs can be a lot of fun, like you can have a good time in the necessary and like culture and stuff to be able to go out and have those parties and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the ones that are going to actually like save lives and like really change lives are the ones that are pulled out of somewhere a little bit deeper, Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a time and place for superficial songs. Like, if I go to a club or a bar somewhere, I don't want to hear about heartbreak songs.
Yeah.
I want to hear like Lil Jon on the speakers, you know what I'm saying? And like old school Usher. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne, I don't care about somebody talking about how their girlfriend left them or their dog died, but there's definitely a time and place for that. And I feel like in the music that I'm doing in country / hard rock / emo, pop punk, whatever you want to call it, definitely more heartfelt stuff is what really hits home for people.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So out of all these things you've learned how to play live shows and find your confidence more. You've learned how to write songs. You've learned how to move to Nashville and get adjusted. What's a piece of advice you'd give to artists who are just getting started on their journey?
I hate this question because I have no idea. Okay, so I'll say whatever I've figured out myself is don't get discouraged, I guess you could say. Like, everybody starts somewhere, and the hardest part about Nashville is, for me at least, is seeing other people succeed and you yourself not thinking you'll ever get there. But I know if you put in the work and you do your best, I hate saying do your best because sometimes your best isn't good enough. But if you put in the work and actually never, ever, ever actually give up, something's going to happen. You're always going to come out on top, whether it's personally or, whatever you actually want to do. If today ended and this was the last thing that I ever got to do musically, whatever, I'm happy. Like, I got to a point where I was like, I can live with myself from now on. I chase what I wanted to chase, and I give it everything I could. I guess what I'm trying to say is the best thing to do is not be discouraged If you have bad, everybody has bad days, but you just got to keep on going. You got to write songs every day, and connections are number one. I don't care what anybody says, especially in today's world. If you have no connections and you don't know anybody, you can have the best songs in the world, but no one's gonna ever hear them.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying, and like being able to be like you're saying, not be discouraged. It's so easy to compare yourself to everybody else, especially in a big place like Nashville where there's so many musicians. I feel like there's just a time and place for everybody though. Like some people need to get that foundation for their lives set up first. Where like they need to go through the bad songs, they need to learn the lessons from that, but they need to learn those lessons before they get to the time when it's really going to happen for them, you know?
Absolutely.
So
I mean, there's the biggest pop star. I mean, look at somebody like Justin Bieber, like he came to fame like super, super early in his career. But I mean, you look at somebody like, I don't know, Machine Gun Kelly. I feel like he's bigger now than he was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, you know, with the new stuff that he's coming out. And Travis Barker, look at that guy. Drummer for Blink-182. No one even knew, honestly, in the mainstream, no one knew who Travis Barker, what his name was. They knew he was a drummer for Blink-182. But now look at him. He's got like an artist profile on Spotify. Dude's got like, I think 8 million monthly listeners just from the collabs he's done on like other artists. So it's, I don't know. Like you said, definitely a time and place for everything. But you never know when yours is. So if you give up now, who knows?
It's also like, you know, not to be like a celebrity gossip thing or whatever, but like look at Justin Bieber. I mean, he got started super early, but you know, we're seeing now that there were problems with him getting started that early before he was ready, before he got his life together. So it's like there really is a time and place for everybody. And it's hard to see that in the moment, but I think looking back, it's easier to appreciate the steps taken.
Yeah. And hindsight's 2020. So like you've always just got to think it's gonna happen. And if you believe in yourself, that's all that really matters. So
100%. What are you excited for that's coming up?
Shows coming back. Thank God. I'm losing my mind sitting in this house and not playing songs for hot girls at college. But yeah, so we got shows coming up. Hopefully we're gonna be able to get to play some festivals and play at the beach in the summertime. And the plan is fall 100% capacity fall tour. That's the plan.
That'd be awesome.
Like August to November, just every weekend. But we're gonna see where that comes from. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of all just still one step at a time at this point.
Yeah. New music's probably gonna be in August or July, around in there. I'm kind of doing like a 180 on the music and just going straight up alternative, emo, pop punk kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Definitely more rock than country. So if people dig that.
Yeah, no, I think it'll sound great. Yeah. What are your long-term goals for music? Like, what do you hope to accomplish down the road?
Wow. I mean, short-term goals, I don't really have because I don't really know where it's going to take me at all. I mean, I'd love to play stadiums one day, but I guess the short-term goal is to sell out an original show, like an original headlining show where I'm not playing covers. I'm just playing all my own songs and people bought tickets and they sold it out. That's like my number one thing. I'm going to cry like a baby if that shit happens. I'm going to freak out. Yeah.
That's a great goal.
Long-term goal is to play stadiums. Definitely play Red Rocks. That's a good goal.
Oh, that's a great place.
Red Rocks. And where's that place where is that? It's not Colorado, is it? It is Colorado.
Red Rocks is Colorado.
Yeah, it's Colorado. Yeah. Red Rocks. That'd be insane.
That'd be amazing. And yeah, there is something special about, you know, selling out your own show, to know that like those people are connecting with your music and there for you. It's a lot different than a cover show for sure.
I can't even fathom it. So if it happens, I'll call you and I'll be in tears and I'll let you know.
There you go, man. Expecting that phone call. I think it'll happen someday. I think you're on the way to get, you know, where you want to be, and it's all just one step at a time. Seems like you're making good steps on the way there, though. But I think it's.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.